So I just have a couple quick slides to go through, and then I'm going to show you some examples of books that I've worked on and how you can get started. And then I'll open it up to questions because I think that everybody is kind of at a different place in what they're thinking of doing, what they maybe have already started doing, and so it's nice to just be able to have like an open dialogue. So feel free to jump in with any questions that you might have, and um, and I'll try to show you as many examples as we have time for here. Okay, so I am Kris Kendall. I have a company called Surrendered Press, and kind of an offshoot of that is called the Publish Club. All right, so just quickly about me, I'm a local mom in Newark. I was part of the Fun Moms group 20 years ago when my kids were babies. Okay, so local mom, as I said, joined Fun Moms. My oldest is 22. He turned 22 2 days ago. And I joined when he was like a week old. So it's been a while. I stayed with the group for several years as I had two boys, and then as they got a little bit older, moved on. But I've worked in tech marketing in the Bay Area for my whole career, and about 10 years ago, I started a little side hustle writing novels. And so that's kind of what's led me to this point. Mostly I write romance books. I have several different series under different pen names. One of them, the cover is different now because I have changed the cover, but this one is Fierce Salon by Aspen Drake. That's one of my pen names. This I wrote kind of during the 50 Shades craze, and it's not exactly 50 Shades, but it was sort of like inspired by that time. But I've also done lots of middle grade books. So, for example, I have this series called the CEO Girls Club. And so these are all different books about their like, chapter books about girls that start their own little businesses. So it's sort of inspired by like the Babysitters Club from when I was a kid, and like Shark Tank now, like kind of a mix of those kind of things. So I've done a lot of different types of books, including a couple picture books for kids. And so here's just an example, a couple of the different pen names that I use and the different books that I've done there. So I wanted to just kind of jump right into talking about how you can write your own kids' book. Now, a lot of you probably have stories in your head that maybe you've made up and you tell your kids. Maybe they're the star of your stories, or maybe, when you were a kid, you heard a story from your parents or grandparents and you carried that on. So that could be where it's starting from, or maybe your kids have made up stories, right? They like to draw, or they have a vivid imagination and they've come up with their own stories, and you'd like to capture them so that neither of you forget them, right? And maybe other kids can enjoy them as well. Or if you are inspired by something that you want to maybe use to educate and entertain at the same time, like these CEO Girls Club books that I wrote. I wanted to really encourage girls specifically, but really all kids, to start their own business and to get their own little side hustle going, whether it's walking dogs or mowing lawns or whatever they're interested in. It could be writing apps, or there's so many things kids could do these days. And so for me, I wanted to create stories that would maybe inspire them to do something like that. But if you have an expertise in coding or animals, or some kind of technology, or history, or whatever your interest is, there could be something there that you might want to build out into books that would educate kids, but also in a way that they would enjoy, that they connect with, that's relevant, they'd understand, and they want more, right? I mean, that's the goal, is to just build readers who want more and who are always looking to expand their vocabulary, their minds, their worlds, etc. And then there's also like the low content books. So you've probably noticed in the past, maybe 5 years, this big uptick in like coloring books, especially like adult coloring books. So there's tons of different kind of coloring books. They're very easy to put together. They're essentially free. I mean, they're to create. It's really easy, especially using tools that are out there like Canva or whatever. There's tons of ways that you can build a coloring book of any kind of theme, whether it's for adults, whether it's for kids, whether, whatever it is. You could also do activity books, ABC books, the kind of books where they have lots of lines and they're tracing letters or sight words. Whatever you are interested in, you can build a book on it. Now, this topic is specifically around kids' books, just because we're all moms here and we all have at one point or another thought, hey, I could write a book about this. But all of this advice is for any kind of book. It doesn't have to be kid related. It could be, anything that you're interested in. It really still applies. Some of the resources that I work when I'm working with my own clients that I've been sending them to. So for editing, if you have a story and you just literally write it down, you can use tools like ChatGPT, Grammarly, or ProWriting Aid to do kind of that quick edit for you. They'll get the punctuation pretty much right. Sometimes it's not always perfect, but they'll, for the most part, fill in missing words and make sure everything's spelled correctly. So those are really easy and basically free ways of editing a short book. If it's longer than like a picture book or, very simple sentences, you'd probably want to hire a professional editor or at least a proofreader. But in the beginning, for something a simple kids book, probably ChatGPT or Grammarly would be sufficient. As far as graphics go, Canva is amazing. So I work in marketing, and when people ask like, what's your most valuable tool? I think in practically everything, it's Canva. I mean, it's just, if you haven't spent a lot of time with it, it just gets better and better every day. So I love Canva for book covers, for graphics, for everything. Also Midjourney. So Midjourney is AI graphic generation, generative AI, I guess is what it's called. I'm going to show you some examples of Midjourney, and it's so cool. I'm still learning it, so I'm not an expert on Midjourney yet. But if you are, or if you want to spend a couple hours playing with it, it's amazing, and you can come up with any kind of graphics essentially for free. I think that there's a paid service. You might be able to get like X number of images for free, and then it's like $10 a month or $20 a month or something. So it's not expensive, and it's so awesome. But what I've used in the past, like for my covers, I found the artist that did these covers on Fiverr. Sorry, Fiverr. So Fiverr is like Upwork. It's a bunch of freelancers, and you just type in what you're looking for. I need illustrations for a children's book, or I need an artist to make custom illustrations, or whatever it is that you're looking for. And you can find people, you can look at their portfolio. The prices range from really inexpensive, $10 or $20 per image, up to, probably hundreds or $1,000s per image, depending on the quality of their work and how detailed your request is. So there's lots of options there too. As far as like book covers go, you can use those same tools for the covers. I use Canva for nonfiction covers, and for people that are writing, that have books that are like simple scenes, and we can just use stock images. We use Canva quite a bit. Midjourney is great for like the fantasy, or like animals in certain positions or with certain backgrounds or whatever. You can have a lot of really cool things have the AI generate that for you. There's also a service called getcovers.com that I use quite a bit. It's like $10 or $20 a cover, and they do very nice professional book covers. So those are some of the tools that I recommend for just getting started. And then I have some of the tools here that we use. KDP is specifically for Amazon to publish any books onto Amazon, and that's your paperback, your hardbound. Audiobooks are kind of an offset of that, although they are doing AI audiobooks now. But even if you wanted to just print a book that is only for yourself, like maybe you have a story that you want to write and you want it to be published, but you don't want it to be out in the world. Maybe it's just your family, and you want to be able to have like 10 copies for your kids, your parents, aunts and uncles, whatever, just within your world, but you don't want to put it out like on Amazon. You can have those published, still print on demand, still very inexpensive. Press.barnesnoble.com is a service that I use a lot for personal copies. And once you upload the PDF and the cover graphics, it ends up being like maybe $10 or $12 per book. And you can order one, or you can order five, or you can order 15, however many you want. You don't have to have like boxes of inventory, in your garage for years trying to sell these. So it's wonderful and it's very easy. And then if you do want to sell it and make it available to people, you can. And then so these are just a couple of the tools that I use there. Okay, so some of the different types of books. And I'm sure you're all familiar with all of these, but they're kind of broken down into these three sections. So you've got the board books, which are usually, a little square like this big, and they're like basically chew toys, right? You give them to the baby and they just kind of play with them, and they have bright pictures, and maybe there's some words, maybe there's not, maybe there's just a different picture on every page. And it could be talking about toes or about bunnies or whatever, they're just cute, silly little happy books. So those are those early board books. For picture books, now a lot of you, I would think, are probably considering picture books. Now this would be, usually it's, maybe a bigger book. It might be landscape with like one whole page is a big bright image, and then maybe the next page is just a few words or a couple sentences, and then the next page big images and just a few sentences. So these often have very low word counts, just maybe a few hundred words, or less. I mean, they could have 100 words for the entire book, depending on how long you want to make it. This is more for the kid who can sit in your lap, look at, 10 or 15 pages of pictures before they either fall asleep or they're bored and, running off to play with the next thing. So if you have, a dog in your house and you wanted to write a story about your kid and your dog and, the adventures that they have, that might be a perfect picture book, where it's just a short little story, just enough to like create that memory, have it documented, and maybe share that scene or that situation with the world if you want to. Early readers are where they start to get a little bit higher word counts. Maybe this is where they're reading paragraphs, sight words, pretty easy words, the vocabularies, short words, and easy for like a first, second, third grader to read on their own. And then, you get into the chapter books, again, a little bit longer, a little bit higher word count, and bigger vocabulary words, maybe some deeper storylines, a little bit more comprehension. They have to remember, different characters and different situations that are happening from the beginning to the end. So deeper comprehension. And then middle grade, so the books that I have here, they're like that 8 to 12-year-old range, where they're, fairly complex storylines, lots of things going on, several characters, maybe some drama, friendship, situations, people being mean, or people feeling hurt, or people feeling left out or sad or excited, or, there might be a little bit more of that kind of real life drama happening in there. And then you get into the young adult. And now young adult really runs the gamut. If you've read Twilight, that was young adult. Hunger Games was young adult. Harry Potter, like all those kind of stories that might have death, they might have some scary moments, they might have, a lot of like other action going on, can be categorized in young adult. And the word count gets much bigger. It goes, those Harry Potter books are like probably 150,000 words. But, up to like 70, 80, 90,000 words is not uncommon for a young adult book. There might be some romance in there. I have a series that I called Mature Young Adult because it was set in high school, but it actually was pretty adult. So, it's very much on the higher end, like 16 and up. And so, there's a lot of room to play in that young adult category, and a lot of adults, adults into their, 60s, 70s primarily read young adult books. So it can really be enjoyed by all ages, almost. So just I'll pause there, and I'd love to just take any questions. Anybody have anything they want to talk about any of these, or if you have ideas for books, I want to jump into some of the graphic tools and show you how those work. But now is probably a good time to just open it up for questions. Nobody has any. Is anybody on the call considered writing a book or working on a book?
Hi, I have a question. So, sometimes I do go on Amazon and I look at the self-published books, and I know a lot of people um, can make quite a bit of money, but I often see books that are basically they look like they're free or they're like $1 or something, and I'm just wondering, um, like, what was the trajectory for you, from starting to making six figures? Like, were you giving books away for free basically at the beginning, and does everyone have to do that?
Yeah. So I let's see. I wouldn't say that I was giving them away for free at the beginning, but that's not a bad strategy. It's actually a pretty common um, strategy for um, marketing. So if you have several books in a series, like you have, book one, book two, book three, giving away book one for free or for 99 cents is a great way to just get new readers, because if it's $4.99, $5.99, $6.99, people might try, they might give you a chance, they might buy it, or they might not. It might, it might just be too much. But when it's something that is, just a buck or whatever, if they're much more likely to give it a chance, and if they like it, they'll buy all the other books. So it's actually a very effective strategy for getting new readers. They'll read all the other books in a series. So I tend to write really long series. Mine are usually 10 books in a series. And that I don't do this anymore because now my books are in Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a subscriber for Kindle Unlimited, all the books are free. Essentially, you pay like a $15 a month fee, and then you get all your books for free. So I don't do this anymore. But when I was charging, I would do first book free, and then every other book would be like $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, and people would read through, because once you like a book and you want to know what happens next, and you want to know about the next character and the rest of the story, and if it's a cliffhanger and all those other things, so there's really there's a lot of smart business behind that first book and free. Now, for a kid's book, especially if you're just going to do one, like maybe this isn't going to be your career and it's not something you plan to write 20 of, maybe you just want to do one book and just put it out there. If it's a picture book that's primarily illustrations, you're going to probably make the majority of your money from printed copies, from hard copies, paperbacks or hardbound books. It's not going to be from the ebooks, right? Because people don't really buy ebooks, just to look at the pictures. So paperbacks, and especially the hardbounds, are more expensive. Amazon and all the sites, they kind of set a price based on the size of the book, if it's got a lot of color, what kind of paper you choose, and how many pages there are. It will give you that baseline price. It might be $7.22 or $9.47, whatever that price is. And then you choose on top of that how much more you want in profit. So it really depends a lot on picture books are really expensive because every page is big, it's a glossy image, it's on really nice, heavy paper, and that all adds up. So the very baseline cost might be like $12 for a book like that, which means for the author to make $1, they have to charge 13. To make $2, they have to charge 14, right? So the prices do get pretty up there. And you've probably seen this if you're in a bookstore, you won't necessarily notice it, but if you're buying books, paperbacks on Amazon or kids' books, they can be, $22 for a book. And that's not because the author is being greedy, probably. It's more that just that on-demand price to print can get very high. So it's something to consider. But no, you can price it however you want. You do not have to give it away for free. And it's really a matter of, what's in your book, and what all the components are, and what that, kind of minimum cost is. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, other questions?
Yeah, so for someone who has never written a book, so what's the starting point of like a good way to start? Is it like early readers is a way to, because picture book and all is quite expensive, right? As you said, it's like you have to find the illustrator, the cost and everything, right? And then it first book, I mean, I don't know, but I'm just asking, is early reader is a good way to, which one is a, in your opinion, good way to start? Or it depends on, I understand it depends on interest to interest from individual to individual, but which one as
Yeah,
per your experience would be, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would say that it really does depend on what your interest is because if you have a story in your head of what you want it to be, I think that the most like inexpensive books is probably a chapter book with low graphics. If there's not a lot of images and it's just words, that's really inexpensive and pretty easy. The formatting is simple. You can do it yourself in Word or Google Docs. You don't need really anything special to make that work. So I think that, if you're just trying to get the easiest book out there, then that's probably where I would recommend you start. But if you are interested in like, some images, like maybe you have a pretty deep story, a longish story, but you still want to have a couple images of the kid or the animal or whatever the primary character of your book is, then it might be like a mix of picture and words. So that's not too bad. If like it maybe every third or fourth page is a big color glossy image, then that's going to cost less than every page. Um, so, I would say write the book that you're excited to write, and, you know, it's going to cost what it costs. If people want it, they're going to buy it. Now, that depends on whether you're doing this to become rich. Like if your goal is to to write a book and to retire from it, then we'll talk about it differently. But if you just want to write the book that your kid likes to hear every night and it's just kind of for you and your family, then that's a very different conversation than write what's in your heart kind of a thing, or write what people want to spend money on and what will make the most amount of money. So is anyone here on this call thinking of writing like as a money maker? Like, are you looking for, and I am looking for money. So I do it for money. I don't do it just to get the stories out there. So that's my motivation. But it doesn't have to be your motivation. It's totally okay to just want to have the story that you like telling your kids in a book that you can print out and bring out at Christmas time or whatever. Yeah, go ahead. Let's see. How do I?
Yeah.
Doreen, go ahead.
Yes. So about your question, I think my brain has always wandered around. I like writing. I'm not consistent. I have a lot of ideas. So when in your first screen, when you categorized, do you want to do board books? There is picture books, right? So that is kind of giving me the first step as to what options I actually have, because I moved around a lot as a child growing up. So I have fun stories growing up, learning, meeting people, learning things. And some of it is, when I look back now, is funny and in a way educative. So, and there are some things that I can share about, my son or moving back here. So for me, if the question is, I actually don't know where all this will go, whether it can go into short stories, uh, as one series, or I can split it into something for older people to read, older kids maybe, and one maybe like a picture book that I can do for kids.
Yeah, if you have interesting stories like adventures that you want to share, and maybe you fictionalize them a little bit too, you add a little bit more than,
Right.
more drama or magic or however you want to do it. I would say maybe those chapter books would be ideal because then they're longer. They're the kind of books like I was thinking of. I wanted to have books that kids could use for book reports, right? And when they have to do a book report in fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, there's usually like a word count. It has to be kind of a thick book. It has to have, somewhat of a deeper story. So that's what was in my mind. Like, could a kid read this whole book over,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple days and write a book report about it?
Mm.
And so that was, one of the things that I, gauged on. But yeah, you could start with an early, like a picture book
Okay.
first, and then maybe for the younger sibling, and then also do a companion book for that next stage. So when they grow up and they're better readers, maybe they would have an early reader book or a chapter book, and you could
Mm-hmm.
kind of do the same characters at several different stages in different kind of books.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, go.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sasha. Let's see. I think you're muted. Do you want to?
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I have a few questions. So for writing books, say for children or anyone, what would be the most publishing friendly in terms of, should we use Microsoft Office or Google Docs?
So I write almost exclusively in Google Docs, just because it's easy for me. I do a lot of dictation, so I will type when I'm at my computer, but when I'm in the car, I'll hit the voice button and I just talk as I'm driving, and it writes it for me. And then when I get back to my desk, I'll edit it and clean it up because it's not ever going to be perfect. But yeah, so I use Google Docs a lot so that I always have one file that is accessible wherever I go. You could use Microsoft in the cloud or whatever for the same thing. If you already have it, if you already have a Microsoft, Office, and you like Word, there's no reason not to do that. Just make sure that it's set to auto save and that kind of thing so that you don't ever lose it. But yeah, you can use
Oh, okay.
Word or
Thanks.
Google.
So the other thing is, say for publishing, we generally see some coding like for ISBN or UPC for selling, right? So how do you go about getting those? Or is it necessary to get them? Because without those numbers, I think you can't search for a book, right?
So the ISBN, the barcode
Yeah,
on the back.
the
Okay.
ISBN and the UPC for selling, right? They scan that code for selling.
Mhm.
One is that, and the other is the book identity, which is ISBN. And I think there are two types of codes. So how do you know which code to take, and where do you get them, and how do you go about it?
Yep. Okay. So you can buy packets of numbers of these ISBN numbers. So you can pay for like 20 at a time, or you can buy one if you only need one. But if you think you're going to have several, you could buy a handful. I will tell you this for myself, and one of my clients has it, probably makes $5 million a year from her self-published books. We have never purchased an ISBN number, not one single time, never. So it's not necessary, but people will tell you that it's necessary. People who don't know will tell you it's necessary. So that's okay. If you want to buy them, you could definitely can. There's a company called Bowker, Bowker. They sell them. And you get basically a long list of these numbers, and then the top of the list you'll put them like in a spreadsheet. The first one you're going to assign to book number 1, whatever your title is, and you'll keep track. Then when you go to upload it, you upload your finished book onto Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of these other sites. It's going to ask you for that ISBN number assigned to that book. So you're going to grab it from your spreadsheet, you're going to plug it in there. If you don't do that, the way I do it is I go into Amazon and I hit the button and I let them give me one. So they give me a free ISBN number and they assign it, and that's it. And they own it, and that's fine. And I sell my book there. If you go to like another site, so I do most of my stuff exclusively on Amazon just because that's where the money is for the kind of books that I write. But for these kind of children's books, you would probably want to go to there's a couple other sites. Barnes and Noble is one. But there's a company called Ingram. I'm blanking on the rest of the name, but Ingram, and you would upload your book there, and they will distribute it they make it available to like libraries, to bookstores. Anybody can order your book if it's there. they will either assign you a free ISBN or you pay them and you can buy it directly from them. And it's
So
very
what was that
easy.
name? I couldn't get that.
Ingram. Let me just
Oh,
pull this up
Ingram.
here. Ingram.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Ingram Spark is the site for indie authors. And so you just go there and it's very
Mhm.
easy and it's essentially, it's cheap. I think they might charge like $25 or something like that when you publish a new title. That charge might have gone away. They used to charge that, and I think there's promo codes you can find online. But it's either free or it's like $25. So yeah, that's an easy part of the uploading process.
Okay,
And it'll
great.
just get printed. They print the code directly onto the book, so you don't have to worry about that.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kris.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to show you one of the tools that is really cool. So Amazon has a tool called Kid Book Creator, I think is what it's called. It's free, it's software, and you just download it from Amazon.com. You probably have to go like to the bottom and do a search somewhere for Kid Book Creator. But this is what it looks like. So this is a book that I it says Kindle's Kids Book Creator. I guess that's the software. So if you do a search on Google, you'll find the download from Amazon. And so what this does is it allows you to set up a kid's book. And so it kind of lays it out differently than it would like if you were doing a chapter book or a traditional novel that's primarily black and white words, right? So I set up when I created this new book, I set the layout, the way he wanted. This is for a client, so he wanted it to be this long landscape mode. And then every page is a different graphic. This is dedication page. And then this is, the first like page of the book. And then it just kind of goes through. And each page is a big graphic with a couple of words. And some have no words or just, cute little pictures of this silly bear. And yeah, so this book itself, let's see, I think it had about 30 pages. Oh, it's kind of long. And it's actually a little love story. It's a little, I didn't love this book, but it's super cute, but it is a little bit of a weird story. But it's adorable. It's 40 pages, and that's it. I mean, you just literally upload each page, each image. So the way he did this is he hired an illustrator. He had one graphic with the words typeset per page. And then he gave me his 40 images and we just uploaded them into this. And then you can export into a file that then you can then upload onto Ingram, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, any of the other book sites. So this is a great tool that if you're thinking about doing picture books or something with a lot of big color graphics, I definitely recommend this. And even if you're doing like a cookbook or a coffee table book of some kind, this tool will work in the same way. It doesn't have to be just a kid's book. It's just kind of laid out this way. So that's a really great resource that you can play around with. And then I want to also show you something else. So does anybody have questions while I pull up Midjourney?
I have a question. This is great, by the way. I'm curious, how do you copyright your books and what you write? Like, what does that process look like?
Yep. So in the US, anytime if you wrote a book and you emailed it to me, that email trail is your proof of copyright. So the day that you send it to me is your proof of saying I owned it and I sent it to Kris. And if Kris publishes it the next day, she stole it from me, right? You have that paper trail. But the actual copyright, like legally trademarking with the Library of Congress kind of thing, that process is it's very slow, but it's not too painless. You have to set up an account with the United States Copyright Office, and you just kind of set up your account and you do it per title. So you would say book 1 is this title, here's the PDF or the Word file of the, the text. And if you want to also copyright the image, like if the graphic is something that you want to copyright, most people probably don't, but if it's like you've hand drawn it, or if it's like something that you want to copyright, you can do the image separate from the text, but usually it's the text that you're trying to protect. So you would upload that file, and it's the last time I did this, it was about $55 per title to do this copyright process. So you upload the files, you send it in, and they and then it's kind of sent in. It's like officially filed. You get like this little receipt that says it's been filed. And then nothing happens for a really long time, like 6 months, 8 months, a year later, you may or may not ever hear anything from them. But if you have that receipt that it was filed, then it's in there. And now there's a lot of debate on how useful this is. So if somebody wants to steal your book, they're probably going to, right? Just like if they want to steal the sunglasses out of your car, they're probably going to get them no matter what kind of security system you put in. So I always tell new writers, new authors, don't worry about the few people who are going to try to steal it. They are not the people that you care about. They're not the one. You're not losing money if it goes on a pirate site, because the people who go to pirate sites and take the stolen books are not the same people that are going to go to Amazon and spend $5 or $15 on your book. So don't let that stop you. There's a lot of things that you can do to try to protect yourself, but if somebody really wants to plagiarize your book, they're going to, right? And in other countries, a US copyright doesn't really matter. If you were to try to like hire an attorney to shut down these copyright infringement issues, it would be so expensive, it would probably not be worth it. So I mean, for the most part, I would say there are some protections. The copyright process is fairly painless, it's not too expensive, and it is a paper trail that you have just in case your book does do exceptionally well and somebody like at a big publisher tries to copy it, then you've got that proof that it's yours and you filed it and all that stuff. But for like the everyday pirators out there, they're going to do what they're going to do, and it's kind of not worth worrying about them.
So would you say you have to go through that process, or as long as you have like an email trail?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know that I've copywritten a single one of my own books, and I have 300 books published. I don't think I've done it for any of mine. I have done it for clients. So I've had clients who say, here's my credit card, copyright all of my books. And I've gone through that process for them, and they'll spend $500 or $1,000 and get all their books in the system, and it's done. And, probably they'll never have to worry about it, because they're probably never going to have to try to fight that process. But if something were to happen, they do have that. So it's just kind of an extra insurance policy. If you only have a handful of books, spending $50 for 3 or 5 books is probably worth doing. If you have a lot of books, it's up to you, again, if you want to do it. But I don't usually do it for my own, and I haven't had an issue. But it's an easy process and something that certainly you should probably do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. You said that you have clients, and so I was a little bit confused. Do you function kind of like an agent, or do you offer like a la carte services, like you help them publish things or something? Can you explain that, and then how you get paid? Like, are you hourly or? Okay, thanks.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, I started out as an editor. So I began working with authors as an editor for their books. And so when I started editing for lots of clients, they'd be like, okay, well then now what do I do? I don't know what to do with it next. So can you help me publish it? And so then I would do that for them. And so I kind of branched off into Surrendered Press is like a done for you publishing service. So I don't generally take books on and publish them for you. Like I wouldn't be your publisher necessarily, but if you gave me your Word file and your graphics and you said, make my book happen, then I would do that. I could do the formatting. I could upload it into your Amazon account or your Barnes & Noble account, so that when any sales come, you get the money, but I just do all that kind of work to make it out, to get it out there. And a few days later, your book is for sale, and then you take over at that point. And if you have another book in a year, you come back to me and say, here's my files again, make it happen again. And then I'll go back in, I'll do it. And then you can, you have it back, and you can look at your sales reports and all that kind of thing. So those are mostly the kind of clients that I have, where I do their publishing for them. I do have a few clients where I manage like their whole catalog, and I do their editing, get all of their translations done. I work with translators, so I'll sometimes buy the rights for books that are in English, and I'll have them translated, and I'll publish them in like German or French. And then I pay that author a royalty, a percent of the royalties that I get back from those languages. So I have a few different methods of working with new authors, and also just coaching. So I have several clients who just meet with me once a month to say, okay, Kris, now I'm at this point. Now what do I do? And I don't know how to do this, or can you read my book and tell me what's wrong with this part or whatever. So there's a few different ways that we do that. Okay, so Sesha, you had a question also?
Yes, hi, I have one more question. Say you're making a picture book and you're looking for pictures. So are there any sites where you can get free pictures, or do we just get to get some illustrators, or how does it work?
Yes. So as I mentioned, there's a handful of ways to do it. Years ago, a couple of years ago, when I needed illustrators for my books, I went to Fiverr or Upwork, and those are freelance sites. And I found artists, and I said, I'm writing a book about this. I need 5 images that have these scenes. One is going to be a bear who's walking next to a pond. The next scene, I need a bear who's sitting down crying because his toy broke. Then the next scene I need, and it's kind of laid out what all the scenes were. How much would that cost? They'd give me the price, and then they would make these graphics for me. Now we have AI, and it's amazing. So I will give you a quick demonstration. I'm just learning how to use AI graphics myself. And I've been playing around with AI for writing too. But it's so cool. And so this is Midjourney. So Midjourney is a discourse tool. So if you Discord, yeah, okay. So I am not a Discord person, but I'm figuring it out. So what you can do is you can go to this Discord, you can subscribe. I think they give you X number of images for free. I don't remember what that number is, but I paid for a subscription. So I think I have a good amount, but basically it will create anything you want. And so I'll give you an example. So I would love any of you to just tell me like, an animal, some colors, some scene, like what are some examples of like cute images that we could ask this to make for us? Does anybody have an idea of what they might want to see?
Maybe a tree.
Okay, what else? What would be by the tree, or what kind of tree, or what colors, or what else is in the
An apple
scenery?
tree. An apple tree, and children are playing under it.
Children are playing under. Okay, so you just do this /imagine, and then it gives you this prompt, and then you say create, and sorry, put on glasses. I'm getting old now. Create an apple tree with children playing around it. Okay, so it'll take a minute, and it will create some images. And then from that, and so like this one above us, what is that prompt? That says Harry Potter universe mixed with black sad. Okay, so somebody asked it to make that. Okay, so here comes our tree. Let's see if it's any good or cute. It looks a little, yeah. And you can ask for certain styles. Like you could say in the style of Monet, and the style of Picasso, and the style of, Annie Leibovitz, I don't know, any kind of photographer, painter, artist, and it will create those things. So this is it. So this was the first example. So this could be your book cover. This could be page 1.
Right.
It's, like if you want the kids in the ladder, you want them just playing. Do you want a sunny day in the background. You just want green in the background. And then if you like one in particular, you could have it like expand, like, okay, I like this one, but make it bigger or smaller or change it. So one I did earlier, was create a mama tiger and 2 cubs. Okay, and like, let's say my story was about a tiger mama and her 2 cubs, so we'll see what it comes up with. And you can make it like cartoony. You could say oil painting. This next prompt that somebody's doing is asking for an oil painting. If you wanted it to be after a certain, like you want it to be anime, you could say an anime image of a tiger and babies, or whatever style is interesting to you and that you want your book to be about, you can have it create these. So let's see, it's working on this.
Are there multiple websites, or which website is this?
This one's called Midjourney, MIDJOURNEY. Like I said, there's others. Oh, this is even cuter. So this is kind of
how to know
bit more.
which are spam, fake or not, that's what I'm saying. Kind of to be away from those.
Well, AI is all fake, right? So,
okay, you never know.
So Midjourney is a safe one. That's kind of the one that everybody uses for graphics, specifically for graphic generation. So that's the one I would recommend. Like I said, it's free for several of these, and then if you want a lot of images, I think you may have to pay like a subscription, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever, however many you want to do. But it's really a fun way, and even just to get inspiration of like ideas for things, like even just kind of looking through what other people are making. It's really fascinating. Like if you wanted to do a Santa, I don't know what that is, but a Santa story. Holiday books are extremely popular. So creating a story about a couple of kids waiting for Santa on Christmas morning, or Santa's sleigh breaks down and the kids have to help save the day, save Christmas, whatever. I mean, there's so many different cute things that you can do, even if it, like I said, it's just for you and your family. It doesn't always have to be commercial. It doesn't have to be marketable. It can just be for yourself and not cost very much. I mean, the entire process you could probably do for $100, $200 and have 5 paperbacks in your hand in a month, right? So it doesn't have to be expensive. And if you've heard people talk about like, oh, I published a book and it cost me $12,000 with this company, that is a very different thing. That is something called Vanity Press. So that's a company that kind of does what I do, but they say like, you pay me $10,000, give me your story, and I will, do the work for you, and I'll send you a box with 50 books at the end of it. And so that's great. I mean, if that's what they want to do, that there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be very inexpensive, and you can just kind of do it on your own.
Great, thanks, Kris.
All right, so I know we're running up on the hour. I am happy to stay a little bit over if anybody has questions that run later, but are there any other questions or ideas, or does anybody want to talk about anything that we haven't already covered, or just get more information?
My name is Gretchen, and I am interested in doing a children's book, but also a cookbook. And so I was just wondering if you had any particular tips or any kind of feedback as to your experience.
Yeah, so cookbooks are awesome and super popular. So like I said, that same tool, that Kindle Kids Book Creator tool is great. It's the same thing where you would maybe upload an image on one page of the food, the dish, after it's made, and then the next page would be the text with the all the ingredients and then the instructions, and that might go on for a couple pages, however long it is. And so that's one way of doing it. With cookbooks, you can get away with an ebook because it's not for kids. So a lot of people will buy a Kindle ebook, right? And they would look at it like on their iPad or something like that. And so you know, in that case, the graphics maybe could just be like the top half of one page, the image. It doesn't have to be a full page, big spread. And yeah, just lay it out just like you would. And like I said, you can do this in Word or Google Docs. And for something like a cookbook, depending on how you want to lay it out, if you could even use probably like slides, Google Slides, so that you kind of have more of a template with like, this is where the ingredients go, this is where the you know, initial instructions go, and then this is the step by step. And you know, I would say look at a couple of the cookbooks, go to Amazon, look up the type of cookbooks that are similar to yours, like what kind of food would it be, like vegan, or you know, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking not vegan at all, but easy, quick meals to make for families that are like time crunched and easy access to what you have in your pantry. So that's what my thinking was.
Yes, like maybe one pot dishes or something like that, one pan or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so I would say go to Amazon and do a search for that. Look up easy meals for families in a rush or in a hurry, or busy families. Okay, and then see what the top see what comes up at the top of the list, and those most popular ones, look at those. If you click on a book in Amazon that's an ebook, there's a button called Look Inside, and you can click on it and see like the first 5 or 10 pages, depending on how long it is, and just see how it's laid out. And that's the best way to get an indication of what readers expect. So whatever's the most popular, whatever's selling the best, you want yours to be like that, right? So how they lay it out is maybe how you would consider laying yours out. The types of wording they're using, consider that for yours. If they're using one pot, one pan, 1 hour, 20 minutes, like see what the trends are and what seem to be most exciting to the buyers, and then you know, use that as a model for what you think would be most successful.
Wow, thank you so much for your help. That's really helpful.
Yeah. All right. Well, that pretty much sums up what I wanted to show you guys today. If you have any questions, you can visit me at surrenderedpress.com, and I have different coaching packages, and I also have a subscription service. And I would love to just, you know, I'd be happy to hear from you if you have any questions about getting started, or if you've maybe started writing and you just want some suggestions on how to get to that, you know, next stage, what comes next. Feel free to reach out, and I'd love to talk to you.